What is happening, Flip Flop fam? I'm super excited to have Holly with me today. But Holly, for people who don't know, who are you and what do you do?
Are we recording?
We are recording.
Oh, I didn't know if it was on recording. Sorry. Okay. Sorry, I messed you up there, but I thought we might want to not record it. Okay. You want to start over?
No, rock and roll.
Just go? Okay. Sorry about your editor. Well, okay. I am a gal from Southern Utah, and I'm a mother of 8 adult children, 19 grandkids. That's what I'm most proud of. And I have a great husband that has been a great support in all these endeavors. He's the calm to my storm. I'm the one that comes up with the ideas and always have lots of businesses. We usually have 3 or 4 going on at a time. Not because I guess I just get bored easy. I just come up with a new idea and I go with it. Some have worked out great and some haven't, but that's okay. We roll with the punches. But for me, I had a huge shift 4 years ago. I know we all suffered from COVID. We all had probably a loss or two. And I'm sad for that. But I had a 70-day stay in the hospital, and that really, I was intubated twice, had a trach, had sepsis, a couple other life-threatening infections, and it really changed everything about like who I was to where I am and where I'm going. And that's kind of it all summed up.
Awesome. Awesome and not awesome all at the same time. Um, so yeah, COVID. I lost my mom during COVID, sepsis.
I'm sorry. Mm.
Yeah, and she was moving to Florida, and then 2 weeks later she was gone. So yeah, absolutely some loss out there. And I'm super curious to hear your story. I know you just had a book come out. I want to talk about that. But tell me, it was a near-death experience, right? So like that's what I want to get into. And then also I
Yeah.
want to bring it back to, sounds like you and I are cut from the same cloth and that I've also had 20 different businesses. Nicole is my calm in the storm. And I'm curious how this has affected what you do kind of in the left brain business world as well. So
Oh, yeah.
dive
Sure.
in. Tell me more about the NDE.
Yeah, well, feel free to stop me if you need clarification because sometimes I just get rolling and you might say, "Hey, wait, what?" Um, so I want your audience to understand, first of all, there's 3 different types of experiences which I had no idea. I knew what near-death experiences were and I knew I had one right away, but with the COVID fog and then I had long COVID really bad after that, it just it take a while to unravel things. So there's out of body experiences, and then there's spiritual transformative experiences, which they call STE, and then there's an NDE, which is your near death experience, which is what most people understand. And depending on who you talk to, those experiences could all be classified as near death experiences, I guess. But for me, I had all of them. So I had a whole bunch of out of body, some crazy ones, some funny ones, some scary ones. And it was interesting that I could tell the difference between a bad dream, just a dream, an out of body, clearly a spiritual transformative experience, and clearly the NDE. And so for me, the NDE, so oh, it's so much. Like it's a whole show in itself. I mean, I have other podcasts I'm on where that's all we talk about is these experiences. But I will go wherever you want me to go. So for me, I always traveled in my bed. So I was in the hospital for the 70 days, and these experiences all happened within the first 3.5 weeks when I was the worst. And I know from looking at medical records and interviewing my sisters who were there with me. My husband was home with COVID on oxygen and blood clots, and but he wasn't hospitalized. But they wouldn't allow him for 3.5 weeks. So the day I got the trach put in was the first day he even saw me in 3.5 weeks. So it was interesting that all my experiences kind of happened before he even was there to be able to be with me. And my bed, I think I just subconsciously I knew that I was not doing well. And if I left it there with my body in it, then I might not get it back. So, like, it's interesting how your brain, it was working in a lot of ways, even though it wasn't. And so the near death experience was similar to the out of bodies as well, as far as taking my bed. So I was leaving my room in my bed, and my sisters would say, "You never left this room. They did surgery here. Like you were here the whole time." I'm like, I went everywhere. I said, "Are you kidding me?" I had all kinds of experiences. I was sedated, put into an induced coma, sometimes paralyzed a lot of that time as well, just so my body would heal. The near death, I was leaving the hospital room and I was being rolled down the hallways. And again, I must have known I was in trouble because I leaned up to the nurse's station and started shaking my finger at him. And I said, "I rescind my DNR. I rescind my DNR." And I don't even know if I had one, honestly, but obviously I knew I was going somewhere I wasn't planning on going. And when I got, well, first all these other hospital beds were being rolled out with me down the hallways. I could see other beds, which I believe now were other people dying in the hospital because every day people were dying. I mean, the stories I have around that were really heartfelt and sad and all at the same time. So we get to the end of this place that ends up being, I can only compare to a stadium, like a football stadium, but way, way bigger. And everyone in the beds got the sky boxes up above because we were in beds. And then there was this like pause to it all. And next thing I know, I'm out in the stadium and there's hundreds and thousands of people in this stadium. And the light was like so bright my senses were like heightened so much that it was interesting because I had lost all five senses while I was actually in the hospital. So to go from, not being able to see and hear and taste and smell and touch to everything and the bright. It was interesting that I could see the people, even though it was so bright, it was blinding. And that's really hard to explain. But I remember looking and they were all just floating. Like there were thousands of people, but I could see feet. So I knew that nobody was on the ground. And and conversations were just like telepathy, just I mean, just like back and forth. You had a slightest thought, you had an answer, you had a conversation, you had years of knowledge instantly. And then the music started, and it was like the most angelic sound I'd ever heard. And it was coming from all four directions. And then the singing. And I remember I didn't ever recognize any of the songs, but I knew the words to every song, which probably was part of that knowing. And so I sang along with them, and I later said that was the best concert I had ever been to, not realizing really where I had been. And I enjoyed that. And then, and there's a lot of details, but I'm just kind of giving you the fast forward story.
Hmm.
And then I went to like my life review, and I only saw good. And I was like, I remember later really thinking, where was the bad? Of course, I was enjoying the good, right? And then I was told two specific things to do. I was told I had just pitched to a company that had a billionaire backer with a new software company that I wanted to back with them because they had a billionaire backer. And I pitched them the day I found out I had COVID. I was told not to partner with them. That wasn't the highest and best thing. It would take me longer, but don't do it. And then I was told to go start a nonprofit called Adventure Bucket Wish Foundation, or well, we named it Foundation, Adventure Bucket Wish, but no other details, nothing, no mission, and nothing around that. And then I didn't get a choice whether I got to stay or go. I just was put back. And when I came back, I had to use an alphabet board because I was intubated, and my sister could tell I was really uneasy. Luckily, at that time, I could have one person every 24 hours. I know a lot of people died alone because they couldn't. And so, super grateful. I know having them there saved my life. She was there with me that day, and she had me spelling out, like trying to communicate because she knew I needed to. And I spelled out KID, and she's helping me. Oh, do you want me to tell your kids something? And because it would take me sometimes an hour to spell a word. It just had no energy. And she knew that wasn't it. I continued to spell NAP. And she's like, when you spelled kidnap, first, I just wanted to throw up. I was like, what happened? I ran an errand. They said you were doing better. So I went for an errand, came back, and like, what happened while I was gone? She was like trying to sort things out just as the doctor and the nurse walked in to extubate me. And so she had them do all that, and there were still spirits in the room. And I realized quickly that I was the only one that could see them. And doctor and nurse left, and she was opening cupboards and the bathroom door, showing me nobody's there. Clearly there was. I could talk then, but she said not very well, but she said you had a ton to say. So fast forward, unless you have a question on that. Fast
Keep
forward.
going. This is
Okay,
fascinating. Keep going.
so this is where it got really interesting. So I had a long journey. I had 2 years of hell after that, not just with long COVID symptoms and all these diagnoses coming in, perfectly healthy person going in, walking out on 12 drugs. So it was a long journey back. And then I had a bunch of family issues, like the worst experiences, every bad day times 100. I was experiencing every day. Prayed I would have died every day. I was like, why would God save me to put me through this hell? Like, what is happening? And I couldn't figure out why I felt kidnapped. I'm like, I would have stayed where I was. Like, I didn't get a choice. So I was a little bit ticked off about that. But I listened to what my guidance was, the two things I was told to do immediately around my health issues. Within like the fourth month, I had both companies incorporated. I still don't know how. I mean, I call everything I get God gifts because I don't know how I did it. I was so sick. I was still on oxygen. Anyway, fast forward a couple years after I finally am coming out of this 2 years of hell. I went to IANS conference, which is International Association for Near Death Studies. I learned about the three experiences. I really started digging, and I knew I was writing a book, and I knew that I wanted, out of integrity, to have the story correct as much as possible. So the out of body I remembered, the spiritual experience I remembered, but the near death was missing some things. I remember that gap before I got into the stadium. There was just some, why was I kidnapped? Why did I feel kidnapped? I didn't know. So I decided I'm trained in hypnosis. My coach and trainer of years before, I called him and said, "Hey, will you do a hypnosis session specifically on the near death experience? Because I feel like there's some things missing." We did that. We get in there, and it was, I hate to compare it to a near death experience but it almost was because of all the things I was shown and the symbolisms I was shown or symbols I was shown. And so, but where it took me was, oh gosh. Okay. So I ended up, when there was that pause before I got in the stadium, I ended up being taken by an entity. And I ended up in the hypnosis session in what we call the in between. So the dark was on the right and the light was on the left. And there was all this matter swirling around, just like it was in the light. It looked like fog, the light, but I could see through it. Well, now it was like shadowy colors. And he said, is there anyone here? Well, the shadowy covers by the colors would like form together, and then they would form a heart, and then they'd float off to the left, which was the light. So we're all attracted to the light. And I remember thinking, everybody wants to go to the light. And so then he said, is somebody there? We realize there's an entity. He has me get this entity. We're able to talk to the entity. He tells me his name is Darby, and he said he wants my light. He can't have the light. He can't go there, and he wants mine. So I didn't figure out it was him really that took me, and that's why I felt kidnapped. I put that together. It took me over 2 years to put that together, actually 2.5. And so I realized that, and it was like when you realize something and it's so true to your core, you're like, oh, that's what happened. Well, he also told me in this hypnosis session that more would be revealed to me when the time was right. And normally that would make me crazy. And I was at peace. I was like, all right, cool. I don't think I could handle everything I would have got. I mean, while I was writing the book, I got another piece of it with Darby in it too. And it's like you get these little things dripped on you, and I don't think my brain could have taken everything I got. But Darby, they bantered back and forth, the hypnotist and him, and finally the light was coming, and I could feel the heat, like that brightness and stuff that I saw in the stadium was like coming from the left. And he said it's coming to take her, and I'm not going to be able to stop it. And so my hypnotist, he's like, well, then let her go, and he was not being very nice to him. He's like, you're stealing her light, you're stealing from her, that is not yours. And he finally realized, he wasn't going to be able to keep my light, so he let it go. And as he let it go, I walked forward, and I was looked over on the right, but way far back, and there was a mountain with one eye on it. And I saw it 2 times. And I remember the second time, that's the second time you've seen that. There's a reason you're seeing that. Noted. Like I just knew it. And I think it was a protector. Like I feel like that's part of more will be revealed to me. But I'm definitely attracted to those things, obviously, by looking at my photos behind me. And then I went forward and there was a tree. And when I saw that, it brought so much peace because, I'd just been through this 2 years of awful and prayed I would have died every day, cried every day, and I'm not a crier. And I see this tree. Well, in my software company, it's called Retreat R&R. And when we were creating the branding, because I did immediately, you did what I was told. We created the branding and I said the favicon, the logo has to have a tree in it. No one questioned it. I didn't question it. We build it. It has a tree. It comes back with 11 leaves and 11 roots on the tree. I never had them change one thing. I was like, interviewed the guy that created it later, and that has a whole nother story. And I was like, saw the tree, and it was basically, I felt God saying to me, you did what you were asked. You created that tree and your logo of this company, and you didn't even remember it was part of your story. And so there was that. Then I get to the light, and now all the that matter is turning, it's light now, and it's turning like pinkish color, like a rose colored, and the hearts. So I was rose colored hearts, right? And I saw that. Well, when we did the nonprofit, we made the mission for long COVID at first. It's not anymore, but it was at first to help people with long COVID. And in our gala that we had, in every little gift bag, I knew instinctively, again, I knew every one of those needed to have this little rose quartz heart in the bag. And I did that. And when I saw that in this session, it was like, same thing. It was like the two things you were asked to do, you did unconditional, and you just didn't even know that that was part of this. So like that was a blessing. Then I see the life review again, but I asked this time, where's the bad? Like I wanted to know. I was just like, how come I'm not seeing any bad? And God says to me, I never saw God, but I felt and I heard him. And he clearly said, I'm showing you this because this is what matters. And I was like, yeah, you're right. Unconditional love. It just, this is what matters. And then he said to me a message. He said, love them where they're at. And if I would have had that message 2 years before, I would have saved that 2 years of hell. I know it. I would have handled the situations differently. It changed and shifted everything after that. And I really preach that message to people now because I know a couple of people have said that me giving them that message has changed their life too, because it takes the judgment away of people. I mean, I came back with the love feeling and the unconditional, but to say love them where they're at. So that was a biggie that I came out with that. And anyway, that's kind of wraps up what happened with all those.
Oh my gosh. Like so much to unpack.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
the two things, like the 11 leaves and the 11 roots, like 1111 is obviously big for a lot of people. Like
Yeah.
I have a clock on my arm that is at 1111 if you ever see the time on the
Oh,
clock.
I love
And I
it.
also happen to have a tree that I got when my mom passed that has
Oh,
also has 11 roots for whatever reason. So,
I was
um
released on 11/11 from the hospital, and that's why my book release date last week was 11/11. And my
oh gosh, I
birthday's
love it.
1/1 in the 1900s. So I have three ones there too. So very significant. You're right. For many people, but definitely was spoke to me for sure.
Wow. Have you ever, it's kind of a side tangent, but have you listened to the telepathy tapes?
Yes, I love them. Yeah,
Oh my
I met her
gosh.
at the conference. She was also a speaker at the conference
Really? Oh
for
man, like
IANS.
those were so captivating. And just
Yeah.
the whole, like, if you look at autistic kids as being more advanced and not having a problem, and if we didn't dumb them down,
Yeah.
what the world would, so I recommend everybody go listen to the
It is
telepathy
good.
tapes.
I said it on a podcast that I was on of somebody else's. I said it was so weird how it kind of, I just randomly said live. I mean, we were live, and I just was like, had a feeling to say it. And I said, I really feel like kids with autistic are just living on a different plane than us. They're just in a different dimension, and they're way smarter than us, but they can't communicate those words. And he told me about telepathy tapes, and I was like, so happy he told me. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So obviously we could talk for the next hour just about just about this. Um, but I think the direction I want to take it, which might be a little different, is how this has affected, we'll call it the real world, even though most of us know this is all an illusion. But how has it affected your business? How has it affected your relationships with people? Like, give me that.
Yeah. Oh, gosh, that's such a loaded question. It has affected everything, by the way. So the retreat, it's for retreat leaders. It's a retreat leader software, Retreat R&R. Last year, I set it a little bit on hold, the software piece of it, mostly because I was in $1 million raise to finish it. And I'm a real estate broker of 20 years. And that was like phase two of it, where we were going to buy and sell luxury retreat properties. That was another division. And I thought, why didn't I start there? I think I was so excited to have a software company because I'd never had anything in tech. And then realized, okay, that should have been phase two. This other should have been phase one. We have a concierge service. We have the podcast for all called All Things Retreat. So everything's about retreats. I got a couple other things up my sleeve too that we're really going to launch big on 2026. So it's just given me that it's having that idea and knowing that what you're creating doesn't really exist anymore or yet, it lights me up. Like I love being an early adapter. I love taking risks. I don't love losing money, but I love taking risks. And I know if it was something God gave me as a God gift, I know it's going to work out. Yeah, it's going to take longer, and it has been a big learning curve for me. The nonprofit we shifted after a couple years. It was for long COVID, and then I that was another download. I'll tell you that's real quick. So that one, and my lesson in all this is all about the shift, which is my book's called Near Death Shift, and it keeps happening for me. Even that name of the book came just in the last few months. I had another name picked out for 2 years. And so it's just like being open and listening to what the next direction is. I knew the nonprofit, everybody hated COVID, nobody wanted to talk about it. I had a hard time getting guests with 100 million people with long COVID. It was just like this struggle. And I was finally starting to get better. And I was living in wellness energy, and it was pulling me back to sick energy. And I didn't know what was going on, but I thought I'm going to keep doing, we had a podcast for it. I'm going to keep doing that, but I'm going to take all the fundraisers off the table. And one day I was recording a podcast with someone, and all of a sudden I started like reliving my hospital stay, the trauma, the PTSD. I'm like, I couldn't breathe. I was like, what is happening? And I get this huge download. Basically, the message was, this is not your mission anymore. And this is your last podcast for that mission. And I was like, yay, because I knew something was up, but I just didn't have that clear answer, and I didn't want to make that decision without it. So we stopped, and there was some processing with that, and why would God tell me to do that and then take it away? And one of my board members, she's also very holistic, and she said, if I remember right, you didn't get a mission, you got the name. I said, you're right. And she said, so keep the name, you're in your third year, and let's change the mission. And so there was that shift, and we haven't done a ton with that nonprofit yet, because it's just like my brain can only handle so much at a time. And then I decided, oh, this is the year I got to get the book out. So then everything stops for that. It's just really just defining what's most important, what needs to be happening, and listening to your gut and listening to your intuition that everybody has, and then just following through with it and taking the action to do it. I think that's the biggest thing. I just, while I was writing my book, I just got another like God gift idea that has to do with the retreat stuff. I can't say what it is yet, but it's like makes me just as excited about the software company because I know they're going to go hand in hand, but it's a totally separate, different company. Like I needed number 12. Anyway, it's fine. But I'm really excited about that. It'll start first of the year.
I think, I spent the weekend, we were talking before we hit record. I was at a conference, and a lot of the theme around that, there was two things. And I was just talking with Angela Goodman, who I'm going to be on her podcast, which is kind of a similar vein to the conversation we're having here. But the theme was really that if you have the desire to do something and you listen to that desire, like you are capable of achieving it, or else
Yeah.
God, universe, whatever you want to call it, wouldn't put the thought in your head in the first place. And I think if you're
Yeah.
willing to listen to that, we call it a nudge, right? Like if you're willing to listen to that nudge, but to your point, take action on it. You don't just sit there and
Yeah.
say, I'm going to win the lottery. I'm going to win the lottery. You got to buy the ticket.
Yeah.
It's, I think that's the missing piece that a lot of people
I'd
don't.
love to add to that. I love that you said that. But I also think you may not have that motivation to do something. You might have an idea, and then you got to decide what's the emotion behind it. Is it fear? Because do scared things. Like maybe you really don't have the desire to do that, but you know in your gut you're supposed to. And so it's like take that leap.
Yep. That what we say, everything you want's on the other side of fear, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Literally everything.
So true. Do it
uh,
scared. Do it scared.
good episode title. Um, that's awesome. So what do you think? Let me go a different direction because I want to do this first. A, how can people find you? Where can we go get the book? Like, I don't want to leave that to the end.
Oh, that's sweet of you to ask. So there is a landing page for just the book it's called the book title, neardeathshift.com. That'll get you there. And you can get a signed copy for me if you want to pay $5 for shipping, or you can go to your Amazon and you get it on Prime, or you can get the ebook there, and all the links are there. And if you want to get hold of me, my website is just my name, hollyporter.com. You can find me
Awesome.
there.
So I normally do this later in the show, but I was having this conversation with Angela. You know, the last guest, in this case Angela, left you a question. You get to leave the next guest a question.
Okay.
So I'm going to do this a little earlier and you'll see why. But before I ask you your question, what would you like to ask the next guest?
Do I know what they do or anything about them, or it's just
I don't
random?
even know who the next guest will be because people reschedule
Hmm.
and everything else.
If you can make one bold move in the next 90 days, what would it be?
Okay. I love that.
I don't know.
The thing I was talking with Angela about is how, I have 170 episodes of this show and
Nice.
the questions are always apropos. And I never know who's asking it or why or who the guest is going to be or why. Because I have everybody on this show. It's not just like, it's whatever
Sure.
I'm interested in. That's why you're here.
I love
So,
it. Yeah. Well, thank you.
it's like my own playground. But so I'm going to ask you Angela's question, and you'll see why I say that, and you'll see why I brought it up. Her
Okay.
question for you, not knowing who you would be, is why are you on Earth?
Oh, that's easy for me. Um, I believe I got sent back to finish what technically I hadn't even started. I think I laid the groundwork out and I'm seeing things from 5 and 10 years ago that I created and didn't finish, or relationships I'm building that are for now. And I think it's all of what I'm building and all of these business ideas. It's really a build, scale, sell type model for me. It's not necessarily about the money, but it's the good I'm going to do with the money. And it's for all the philanthropy work. Those 2 years of hell I had to go through were the lessons I had to see and learn and watch and go through for the future. Like I know that. I have plans, and I try not to think so much in the plans because I'm like I really feel big in sitting in the being because I've always been sitting in the doing. And so to me that's the doing over here, and it's like nope, come back, get centered, be present, and focus on that. And those are some of the lessons I teach in the book of all the things I learned around the SHIFT acronym. So yeah, that's what I know that. That's why I'm here. Why would I have got sent back? If I had a choice, I wouldn't have come back, honestly. I could have haunted my kids and probably done more damage. No, not really. On the other side than here. They don't have to listen as adults.
Yeah, that's why we're called human beings, not human doings, right?
Yeah, that's right.
The I love that what you said about I'll rephrase. So I've got me and Nicole have our foundation send a student leader abroad. Like my goal is to send 1 million kids in my next
Mhm.
40 years. And
Mm,
they go through an entrepreneurial program with me and they go on an international trip. We're partnered with EF Tours.
love that.
And why do I charge so much to work with me? I could work with everybody for $1.99. It's because of what I'm going to do with that money. It's
100%.
not, we donate 99% of everything that comes into the foundation. So
Right.
it's having that bigger why. And I think, and I'm curious your take on this. I have, as I get older, I consider wisdom to be when the bad, quote unquote, bad thing is happening, you recognize faster that you needed it.
Yeah.
That's wisdom to me. You don't wallow in it for 5 years like you might have when you were 20. Like
Yeah.
as I get older, I just realize, okay, I needed that lesson for something. What is it?
Right.
Do you think that's true?
I love that. What I would add to that is when people say, "What's success to you?" And my answer is totally different than what it ever would have been. To me, it's one word, happy. That's all I need, happy. And that's success.
Yeah. That was a big theme this weekend too. Like almost all of the people on the panel, like either happy or enjoyment or
Mhm.
something like that came along all the time. And I think we hear that nugget like follow your passion, do what you love, and
Yeah.
and people misinterpret what that is and what's
Yeah.
possible if you actually do follow those things that you love.
Yeah.
So I couldn't agree more. Like my definition of success, and you didn't ask, but I'm gonna tell you,
Okay, tell
is
me.
I just call it doing what I want, when I want, where I want, with who I want, for as long as I want. And for me, that doesn't mean I need a yacht and 60
Yes.
more new cars and whatever. Like
Right.
it's just that, like being able to be here with no shoes on at my
Mhm.
house, having great conversations with people. That's happiness for me. Like I do this for free. Like I don't make any
Right.
money on the podcast.
Right.
So
Most people don't.
but it's the value, right? It's that
Yeah.
exchange that you put out into the world, and then people wonder why you're quote unquote successful, and
Yeah.
it's because the aim was never to be successful.
Yes. Oh, I love that. It sums up how I feel about it as well, for sure. Yeah. And I never really had purpose. That's what else I got out of this experience was people would say, "What's your why? I can help you figure out your purpose." Like it was sad to be my age and not feel like I really had a purpose. And laying there almost dying, asking your own questions like, is this it? I always thought I'd die young, but I'm not that young, but maybe this is it. And did I love enough? What was I enough? Am I enough? What kind of a legacy am I leaving? Like you have all those thoughts and to be able to come out of that thinking you were saved for a reason. You were probably less than 1% of the people walked out of there that went through what I did. And I am grateful and I am blessed and to know I think it's kind of cool. I mean, I have the end result and now I got to work all the things backwards and in time, I feel like I want to do it as fast as I can because no days are promised and I'm not afraid to die. Definitely wasn't then, definitely am not now, but I know I want to accomplish these things and I know the right people are showing up. And the fact that you picked me to be on the show, I feel blessed because it's just a little bit more towards that goal, a little bit, forward. And if my message can touch anyone, one person, it's worth my time. Everybody's worth my time if they want to open up and listen, for sure.
100%. I could not agree more. I could not agree more. Clearly, you and I could talk for hours, but I try to keep the show relatively concise. So, before we go, Holly, is there anything else you want to leave our audience?
I think the biggest message that I want to just reiterate is love them where they're at. And we're coming up in the holidays. I don't know when you're going to post this, but it's coming. And I think just that message of, especially when we get families around. I mean, I had a salon and spa for 20 years, so I heard every story doing hair for many years, good, bad, and ugly, And it's like just I think if we can just like have that peace and joy about us and take that judgment out with love them where they're at, I think it'll shift your whole attitude around the holidays and you'll
Yeah,
enjoy it way more.
I love that. I like to think that everybody, and it's hard, I'm human, but
Me
I
too.
like to think that everyone is doing the best with what they have.
Hmm.
Like there's very few, even the worst among us, they're doing the
Yeah.
best with what they were given.
They just don't have the skills or the tools in their toolbox to fix it. So
And
that's why
hopefully they'll
people
listen to
like
this
you and I are
episode.
around to help them.
Exactly. Exactly right. Well, thank you so much, Holly. We'll have to have
Uh,
you back on. I'm going to go buy your book right now.
Thank
I
you.
hope everyone else goes out and buys it. All of your information will be in the show notes. But we'll have to have you back on. This was a ton of fun.
Well, thank you for having me. Appreciate you.
All right, Flip Flop fam, that does it for me and Holly. All of her information is in the show notes. Go grab the book. I know you were listening to this and you were interested. So go grab the book right now. It all goes to a good cause, just like my books. So until next time, keep it on the flip side. Cheers.